Hello and welcome to our conversation on the financials of companies. And today the focus will be on costing and pricing of power distribution companies. In this session, we will observe how is price determined in the power sector companies with a focus on the power distribution companies. For that purpose, we will take Tata Power and its subsidiary, one of its subsidiaries, as an example. And the data for this has been taken from the data available from the public sources, particularly the Regulatory Commission, and have been used for the purpose of classroom conversation. The exact costing and the pricing may not tally with the exact prices that you see, but it'll give you an idea about the process of determination of cost and the price in a power distribution company. So let's go ahead. So Tata Power is into generation, transmission, and distribution. The entire value chain of the power sector is the presence of Tata Power can be seen. And Tata Power, the largest shareholding of Tata Power is with the Tata Sons. And Tata Sons, as we know, they're owned by Tata Trust. And the Tata Power has several subsidiaries, associates, and other investments. But for the purpose of this presentation, we're only focusing our attention on the distribution businesses. And Tata Power has an extensive presence in the state of Odisha and also in Delhi. In Orissa, all the distribution companies of the state of Orissa are now under the control of Tata Power, or all the four companies of distribution are the subsidiaries of Tata Power. And Tata Power has about 51% stake in these distribution companies, and and the balance 49% is with the government. We will see that. Let us get into get an idea about overall financial position of Tata Power before we get into Tata Power distribution companies. So we can see that the equity of Tata Power has been increasing over the years from 19,500 crore in 20 to 32,000 crore in 24. And what are they doing with this equity? We know that this equity has been used for acquisition of assets. But we can also understand and observe that Tata Power also depends on the debts to fund the assets because the assets are acquired. The total assets were 78,000 crore into 2024, whereas the equity is 32,000 crore. So the balance money has come from the debt. And as we have mentioned that equity, a large chunk of equity, around 45% is owned by Tata Sons Private Limited. The other large shareholders are the financial institutions and also public. We can see that public holds about 27% of the shareholding of Tata Power. And the sales of Tata Power has been increasing over the year, and the sales is not just from the distribution of power, but they are into the entire gamut of the power business, generation, transmission, as well as distribution. Along with the increase in sales, the profit of the company has also increased from 1,300 crore to 4,280 crore. And a significant part of this expenses, over a period of time, we will see is because of the cost of the power. So to understand the profit of the company, one needs to understand the expenses, and the expenses of Tata Power is going towards the cost of power. So managing cost or managing expenses of Tata Power is managing the cost of the power. Now we will shift our focus to one of the subsidiaries of Tata Power to get into the details of pricing and costing of power. So here we are mentioned only five distribution subsidiaries, and four of them are in the state of Odisha. TPSODL, Tata Power Southern Orissa Distribution Limited, Northern Orissa Distribution Limited, the Central Odisha Distribution Limited, and the other one is the Delhi Distribution Limited. For the purpose of this presentation, we are going to focus on one of the distribution companies, that is TPCODL. TPCODL is 51-49% joint venture between Tata Power and the government of Odisha's 100% owned company, that is Gridco. The company was incorporated in 2020, and then the assets of the Central Power Company was transferred to TPCODL on a going concern basis. So TPCODL is the licensee to do the distribution business in the state of Orissa. But the contract has been created in such a way that Tata Power has the distribution license for a period of 25 years from June 2020. And it is interesting to observe that before Tata Power, the licensee was Reliance. So Tata Power is having 51% in TPCODL, and the balance 49% is with Gridco. And we know that Gridco is a 100% subsidiary or owned by Government of Odisha, and Tata Power 51%, around 45% is with the Tata Sons. So Tata Power Central Distribution Company, here onwards I'll use TPCODL, purchases power from Gridco and sells power to different customers like domestic customers, agricultural customers, institutional customers, government, and also railways. So we can see that the profile of the nature of the customers on the basis of the size, the ability to pay, the ability to consume is different. So the managing the revenue of Tata TPCODL is actually managing these customers. The relationship between customers and the company can be seen through price. And in order to understand the cost of the price, the cost of the power, TPCODL purchases solely the power from Gridco. So the cost flows from Gridco to TPCODL, and TPCODL passes on the cost to the ultimate consumers in the form of regulated price. Let us see the financial position of TPCODL as per the information collected from the regulatory commissions. These are not directly from the annual reports. So we can see that the purchase of power, because two important things about this business is a purchase of power and sale of power. So everything else rotates around these two aspects of the business. So the purchase of power from 2018 to 2025 has increased from 8,000 million units to 12,000 million units. Obviously, the increase is due to, as the GDP goes, the consumption of electricity based equipments going up. So the demand for electricity has been continuously rising. So that is what is visible from the sale of the purchase and sale of power. So purchase of power has gone up from 8,400 million units to 12,300 million units. Unit is a kilowatt hour. And the purchase of power of TPCODL from Gridco has increased from 5,782 million units to 9,944 million units. But it's important to observe that the difference, the gap between purchase and sale, we can see that the gap between purchase and sale has been consistently there. And this gap, because of this business, nature of the business, we don't have the concept of inventory, opening stock or closing stock. Power flows continuously. So the difference between purchase and sale is a loss, which is called the transmission and distribution losses. It's You can see that the year on year, throughout these 5 to 6 years, the loss has increased from has been between 2,600 million units to 2,300 million units. So many units are lost during the process of purchase and sale. But it's interesting to observe that though the amount of loss, the quantum of loss is more or less same, but the loss as a percentage of purchases has gone down from 32% to 19%. And as we move along, we will see that the management of cost and price in a power distribution company to a large extent depends on management of this loss. So for the purpose of calculation of price and the cost of purchase, this amount of loss is very, very important number. So the T&D loss has come down from 32% to 19% over a period of time. 19% is the expected one. So now with this background that the company has been purchasing from Gridco and selling to various customers, let us observe the cost and price for the latest year, that is 2025, expected price or an expected cost. So as I already mentioned, TPCODL purchases power from Gridco. So in the latest year, expected purchase was 13,306 million units from Gridco. The purchase price, the rate charged by Gridco is 3.54. And the transportation, in this case, it's called transmission of power. The buyer has to pay that money. So 0.25 per unit transmitted, OPTCL has to pay money, TPCODL has to pay money to Orissa Power Transmission Company. Besides that, to manage and maintain discipline of inflow and outflow of power, there's an organization called State Load Dispatch Center. And for that, the TPCODL has to pay 20 lakh per month. So these three items are the direct cost for the purpose of determination of cost. Power purchase price, the transmission cost, and SLDC cost. Now, if you put them into the form of a cost sheet, we can see that during the year, expected purchase is 12,300 million units or 1,230 crore unit have been purchased at 4,666 crore. So the cost of power purchase is 4,666 and per unit cost comes to 3.79 per. So this is cost per unit of power purchased. And what is include? It includes the purchase price plus the transport cost plus the cost of load management. So 3.79 is a cost of power per unit. A significant part of this cost is the purchase price of the power. So this 4,356 crore is a money payable by TPCODL to Gridco. 307,000 crore will be the money payable by TPCODL to OPTCL. 2.5 crore is a money payable by TPCODL to SLDC. So this goes out. So it's important to understand that this sector, whatever you have to pay to the outsiders, have to be collected from the customer. So all this money the company has to collect from the customer through pricing. So therefore here it is called price is a cost plus or a price is a recovery of cost. Besides these direct costs, the TPCODL also incurs some overheads in the form of employee costs, admin expenses, repairs and maintenance, and depreciation on all their distribution assets, maybe transformers, the distribution lines, and some land, the buildings, and the relevant assets. So expected overheads for the year 24-25 as per the Regulatory Commission's data is employee cost 856 crore, admin expenses 233 crore, repairs and maintenance 357 crore, and depreciation per year 137 crore. And depreciation is calculated using straight line method. Now, if you incorporate this into the cost sheet, it will look like this. So the total cost of power purchase is the cost of power purchase plus the overheads. So the cost of power purchase is 4,666 crore. Now, if you add the overheads of 1,500 crores, so the total cost of power purchase is 6,252 crores. And the power purchase is 1,230 crore units. So therefore, total cost of power purchase per unit is 5 rupees 0.08 paisa. So 5 rupees, 5.08, a large portion of that is the power purchase cost. So this also gives us an idea that the overheads account for not a very high percentage of total cost. And observe that this is the purchase price, but all these units are purchased to be sold, but we don't sell the entire unit, all units. So therefore, we know this in the year 2024-25, the expected sales is 9,948 million units or 994 crore unit. The purchase is 1,230 crore unit. So the difference is a loss. So this loss is incorporated into the cost sheet by increasing the cost per unit on the process. The total cost is recovered over the number of units sold. There is no inventory. Therefore, this 1,230 crore units cost 6,252 is distributed over 994. The difference is in units is the T&D loss. So the cost per unit sold goes up to 6.29 per unit. Observe the cost of power purchase. Total cost of power purchase is 5.08. But the total cost of power sold is 6.29. The increase is due to the loss. So this cost can be managed by managing the loss. Hypothetically, let us assume that the total power purchase is sold, which is not possible in this sector. If it is sold, then the cost of power sold per unit will be 5.08. But there will be a loss in this industry. So that for managing the loss, reducing the loss, mitigating the loss is an important managerial decision. So managing the cost of power to a large extent is managing the T&D loss. And to recover this cost from the customers, the pricing process in the regulated industry like power is given by the Commission or Electricity Act. And it says that the total expenses incurred by the company will be recovered from the customers. Otherwise, the company cannot survive. Therefore, what are these total expenses? Total expenses are all these expenses, power purchase, transmission, SLDC, overheads. Along with that, interest, bad debts, the return on equity will also be allowed to pass through. And that amount is given a name in the regulatory world. It's called aggregate revenue requirement. Or in other words, total money to be recovered by a distribution company from its customer. So ARR includes power purchase cost, the transmission charges, O&M operations and maintenance charges, depreciation, interest on loan, and income tax and the return on equity. If there is any income from these assets, that income is treated as a negative cost. So therefore, that income is deducted while computing the total money to be recovered from the customers. Now let us see that for TPCODL. So we know that TPCODL has incurred the power purchase cost, transmission cost, SLDC cost, the overheads. So these are the expenses. Besides that, the regulator allows interest on loans, the provisions for bad debts, a return on equity. Allowed rate of return is around 16%, and the incomes, if any, are treated as a negative cost. So 994 crore units will be expected to be sold to recover 6,528 crores. So the average selling price is 6 rupees 57 paisa. So what is this price includes? Price include the cost of power, the admin and other overheads, plus interest, minus the income from other sources, plus the return on equity. Return on equity is allowed by the regulator as per the Electricity Act at 16% rate of return. So this 6.57 is the average price, but that's not the exact price charged to every customer. The exact price depends on the nature of the customer, large industry, small industry, domestic customer, rural customer, the urban customer, railways, all customers are different, as we already mentioned. But on average, the cost comes to the price will be around 6.57. But the range is in between 1.5 to 7.5. For some, they charge very low, and for some, they charge very high. And this process is called cross subsidization. Now, let us go backwards. So, this price 6.57 is a price to the ultimate consumer, average price. And where is this price coming from? 6.57 is a price fixed by TPCODL, which includes all components plus return on equity. Where is this? And one of the important components of 6.57 is the cost of power. And where is this cost of power coming from? The cost of power is the price which TPCODL pays to Gridco. So Gridco charges 3.5 approximately. Once again, there is a differential pricing there, but we are taking average price. And large component of the price of Gridco is a power purchase cost, because Gridco purchases power from different solar, hydro, thermal, and wind power. So therefore, that is a big part of the price which Gridco charges to TPCODL is the power purchase cost. So we can see that Gridco acquires power from hydro, thermal, solar, wind, biomass. So the average price is 3.09. We can see that cost flows from generation to transmission to distribution and to the ultimate consumer. So this is an integrated business. So companies like Tata Power is an integrated company. They have presence in distribution, transmission, generation. But TPCODL is exclusively distribution company. But as we mentioned in one of the few minutes back, this managing this cost to a large extent is managing the power purchase cost, because this accounts for the largest part of the total cost. And managing the cost is managing T&D losses. To understand that, let us go to Excel. So at present, the price is equal to, suppose now I add the total power purchase is 994, which is the existing situation. So at 994 sales, and when there is a loss of 19%, which is the existing situation, so the loss is 19.2, the unit sold is 994, and so therefore the price per unit is 6.57. Observe what will happen if the loss is reduced or changed. If the loss is reduced to, or okay, let us start with losses increase to 25%. When the losses increase to 25%, all other things remaining constant, observe the price has increased to 7.07. Prices increase to 7.07. Why? Because the increase in the loss. Now let us change that once again. If you change the units to be purchased, if the loss is reduced from 25 to 20%, As a result, the number of units sale changes, so the price has gone down to 6.63. Now change the loss percentages to 45%. Once upon a time, the loss was in the range of 45%. And observe what is happening to the price 9.65. So we can see here that to a large extent, managing the price, which is cost recovery, depends on managing the T&D losses. So therefore, in this business, the companies managing the price is managing cost, and managing cost is managing the loss. And managing loss is a single point agenda for most of the distribution companies. Thank you very much.